Here we are, Paul. Another episode of Free to Speak. Although you can see we have the same background as last week, so we do videos back to back. I think people have figured out that we do this.
Doesn't matter.
What?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, yeah. But last week for our subscribers, not last week for us, but last week on Free to Speak, I had talked about medical care and how doctors solved another problem that I have. And I want to kind of go a little bit further into the issue of some of my health problems, because I want to talk about the topic that I'm picking for this week is suffering, and how there are people in this world that go through severe suffering, and I'm one of the people who has experienced suffering on a very large scale with various medical problems that I've had. I've actually been diagnosed with 22 different medical conditions.
Over time,
at least, yeah. At least 22 of them. And some of them have been very, very severe. For example, I had a neurological disorder that I no longer have. And the odd thing about that is when I came to Uganda, that started going away. And I no longer have that problem. And I took medication for that, and the medication I took for that was creating side effects and was causing erosion in my mental capacities and creating problems in my brain to where I couldn't process information very fast, and would slow me down. I'd be sitting at the computer and I'm trying to work and I can't remember, like I'm looking at a folder of files and I can't remember what to do because I can't make the connection because the medication was affecting my brain. But it was the only thing that would stop the severe convulsions I was having, because I didn't have the medication. I couldn't function because I was constantly having severe convulsions to the point where I'd wake up in the middle of the night. This neurological disorder, what it would do to me was violent. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I'd see my feet being perpendicular and my body would be thrown up and over. I'm laying on my back. Suddenly I'm on my stomach. And I see my legs flying up here and my body flipping over because the twitching and the convulsions are so violent. And so, and I can't sleep because it's just arms are flinging up and legs are flinging up. And the only thing that would treat it was medication, and it was so oppressive. And the suffering from that sort of thing is indescribable. And I've lived with this problem for years, but it's not the only problem that I've had. I've had also, last week I talked about the ringing in my ear and the fungus infection that kept coming back and clogging. That ringing is so oppressive when it happens, you can't sleep. And you go night after night without sleep. And you start to almost lose your mind, because you can't sleep and your mind starts shutting down because you have to sleep, and you start to lose your ability to really even function clearly or think clearly because you go night after night without sleep. And I've gone through that several times in my life, and I also have insomnia. It's so bad at times that when I was younger, I can trace my insomnia problem back to the age of 6 years old, and nothing they've ever given me for insomnia has worked. But I remember at times I would work Monday night, I couldn't sleep. I have to go to work on Monday. I have to go to work on Tuesday. But Tuesday night I can't sleep. I have to go to work on Wednesday. By the time I get to Friday, I'm exhausted. I might sleep a couple hours each night, but then by the time I get to Friday night, I just collapse, and I finally sleep because you have to. And then I repeat that cycle over and over, and that's just a hard thing to live with. And I could talk about other things. I don't want to get too personal with this because I want to kind of keep this as a general discussion about suffering. But you would think that something as simple as ringing or something in your ear can't mess you up. But it does, because what it does is when one part of your body is wrong, it affects your whole body. Because if you can't sleep because you got this screeching, ringing, suddenly you can't function. Or if you have a neurological disorder where your body is constantly twitching and convulsing and you can't do anything about it, you can't function, And, I've looked at these things, but since I've been to Uganda, I've had two doctors solve two of my problems. And my neurological disorder has disappeared, and my wife believes it's because of just because she thinks it's because the food here is better, it's organic, they don't have all the chemicals we have back in the U.S. And maybe that's true. Maybe it's all the garbage they put into the foods back in the U.S. that gave me this problem. Because it's been going away since I've been in Uganda, and I don't even have a problem with it anymore. So Uganda's been a great place.
You ain't taking medication no more?
No, I entirely quit the medication, and ever since I did that, the problem I was having mentally with not being able to, because what happens, the drug slows down my mental, it slows down the impulses between my muscles and my brain. So I'll be staring at the computer, I'm like, okay, I gotta start typing now, and my fingers won't move. Because I can't get my fingers to move because the impulses are being slowed down. All of that is stopped. I don't have that problem at all anymore, and my mind is becoming clearer.
No wonder you like Uganda.
I stopped taking that. Yeah, because Uganda's been a place of healing for me.
I know.
But I still want to, because I've lived a life where there's been a lot of suffering at various levels, the things that I've been through that are just, some nights you wake up, you go day after day of struggle, and you go to doctors and they can't solve it, but hey, here's the drug, and the drug takes care of the problem, but then the drug starts to cause other problems, but you have no choice because you can't function without the drug, but the drug is creating other problems. Living with that sort of thing, and I know there's got to be other people out there that have lived, you know what it is to suffer. So I want to talk about the idea of suffering and how do you deal with suffering. What do you as a clinical psychologist say? How do you help people who suffer?
Yeah, and basically we're not talking about suffering in a sense of like whining and having a victim mindset mentality. No, we're just actually recognizing that these things actually are out there and people go through them. We've all had moments of suffering. Some people just suffer more often than others. And there's also about suffering, there is perspective. So there's no way you can convince someone that I'm suffering more than you. So sometimes it's perspective and it's subjective. So you could find that this thing where you find someone on the street who has had nothing to eat in 2 days, and they're strong and they're positive about life. Then you find someone else crying because they've not had a meal in a day. But the fact that you have not had a meal in 2 days doesn't negate the fact that me not having a meal in 1 day is suffering to me.
Right.
Yeah?
Just because that other person's suffering is worse, but yours is still bad. So like there are people in the world that would say, I've suffered worse than you, but it does not negate that I have suffered.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Just because I've been burnt 2 times doesn't mean that the one who was burnt once.
The one who was burned once still suffered.
The
one who was burned twice suffered more.
So
the one who was burned once was still suffering.
So suffering is subjective, and as long as someone feels that they're suffering, we need to hear them. Okay. Let's not be too quick to judge people as trying to manipulate the situation around their suffering and over-exaggerating it. Sometimes people are struggling, and by the time someone talks about it, maybe you want to listen to them. Anyway, so while he was talking about his story of suffering, I've generally been a very healthy person all my life, barring a few small incidences, especially when I was a kid. But I've generally been healthy. There's a time last year when I like playing soccer, so I tried to do this bicycle kick.
I remember this,
And I had a sprain or a strain, whatever, in my ankle, and I couldn't walk. It was very disturbing. I could just walk so slow as though I was 8 years old. It felt so terrible. And I remember that's the time I wrote a poem around about. I called it.
I think I read it.
Yeah, I called it.
You shared it with me. Excuse me.
So I called that poem "Celebrated Handicaps," in the sense that we don't know, like it comes with off that cliche thing saying, well, we don't know what we have until it's gone.
Yep.
You know, you don't know the value of that pinky finger until
it breaks.
Until it breaks. Then
It's just a little finger.
yeah, then it makes your life so miserable. Then you find that you can't carry a jerry can. You find that you can't ride your bicycle normally. You can't. So, you know, that suffering I had for like 2 months, it just made me appreciate life more. You know, so sometimes I look at suffering is there to maybe help us, you know, wake up the reality of the blessings we have in our life. Because until you suffer, you may not notice that you have something. But do we need to first suffer to see that we have something? Maybe we have to always wake up to be grateful about some of the things we have in life and celebrate life for what it is.
And for those that are healthy, be appreciative of what you have. And if somebody around you is suffering, don't minimize it, because you may not understand what they're going through. They may be going through something serious. But to you it seems trivial, like, oh, it's just ringing? I mean, how much suffering could ringing in the ear cause? A lot.
Until it rings in yours.
Until you have a screeching sound where it sounds like somebody is screaming in your ear at full volume, you have no idea of how that can mess you up. Until you're experiencing convulsions that are violently throwing your body around, you can't understand what that's like. You know, and you can't understand. Not only does it affect you physically, it affects you mentally, emotionally. It affects every part of you. It's holistic in terms of the impact that it has on you.
Yes, minor changes in our life can cause suffering.
Yes.
Very minor changes.
On multiple levels.
Yeah. So it could change your social life. It could change your spiritual life. You will start asking questions about, does God really exist?
Does God, yeah, many times I've been to God, where are you? Why are you letting me suffer?
Exactly. Social life, how does it affect social life? You find that you can't associate with the same people you've been. Now, like when I couldn't walk, I couldn't attend any social event that would happen. I couldn't really show because it was very painful. So it affects your social life. You start questioning your spirituality. It affects your mind. It affects your work. Just one small change in your life. So we need to appreciate suffering, not in the sense that it's something good, but we appreciate it when we see people going through it and empathize with them. But as well, it's a sign that we should be grateful for some of the things we have in our life.
Yes.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So, as a clinical psychologist, what can people do? What are some practical things people do to show gratitude, maybe in terms of what they have, to appreciative of what they have, and maybe even sensitivity towards those who are suffering? I've asked you two questions here. What are practical ways that people?
Okay.
What are practical ways that people can be more sensitive to other people's suffering? Without necessarily, you can't solve the other person's problem. So, but you can do things that are sensitive and helpful, encouraging to the person. So, what can they do to help people who may be suffering around them?
Yeah. So sometimes, you find that suffering has a way of cornering someone who is suffering, in the sense that it makes them feel like they don't fit in. So it puts them in a corner, and we find people try to isolate themselves because they are suffering. Why? Sometimes
people don't understand. If they don't understand, you're going to pull away because
so
they isolate themselves.
Someone might feel like maybe I'm being a burden to this people.
Yep, that's another issue. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, let me just give them their time, let them have their good time, let me separate. So sometimes if you see such a thing is happening, try as much as possible to include this person in activities, try as much as possible to reach out to them and try to demystify the thing that they are not part of the group anyway. Because it's a myth. Much as someone is having, let's say, a shortcoming in that moment in life, they're still human and they still have feelings, they still have. So you just have to try to, as much as possible, include them in activities.
As much as they can participate.
Yeah. Though you don't have to, or you also don't have to overdo it, because now sometimes people who are suffering don't want too much attention.
Because they feel like they're being a burden. And then,
exactly. And so you're babying them so much, and they become like they feel so helpless.
and they don't want to be pitied.
Exactly.
Don't show pity.
That's
They don't,
exactly what I was
they don't want pity. Like,
Yeah.
I know I don't know if I've ever really felt like people ever showed me pity. I don't know. But I just, when in the midst of my problems, all I want is just somebody to say, hey, I'm here, I'm listening, I care. I can't solve your problem, but I'm here if you want somebody to talk to. That's all.
Sometimes
I
just
know you can't solve, my problem.
sometimes it's just about being there, talking to them, reaching out to them. That odd phone call, make it regular, reach out. Yeah, something like that. Availability, because they're already hiding themselves away from people. So if you just let them be, you're not helping them. Sometimes you want to reach out and tell them you see them, you hear them, invite them over, give them means of how they can reach you. Like, I know you're struggling working. Okay, we shall come to the place near your home. That's where we shall meet. Instead of meeting a place which is very far away, where they will struggle to come, you meet within their homestead. Something like that. Try to improvise. So get out of your comfort zone so that you can accommodate them within the spaces.
So when I asked my question, I had kind of two parts in there, and I focused on the second part. But the first part is for people who are healthy. What can people who are healthy? What are practical steps that they can do so that they're not taking advantage necessarily? Not take it for granted. Maybe that's what they're not taking their healthiness for granted, but showing appreciation for the fact that they are healthy. Is there any practical steps?
No, I guess some people are so, they're so. Some people are so pragmatic about life. They're always living in the future. They're not living in this current moment. Now, part of the biggest causes of anxiety and depression is not in the now. Depression usually comes from living in the past or living in the future. I'm worried about what will happen at that job interview. So I'm now sad about it. Even when I'm at a party, I'm not going to enjoy that party because I'm thinking about that job interview tomorrow. So I'm going to be stressed out when I'm actually supposed to be enjoying the party. Or I'm thinking about the person that I lost 1 year back. Now, if they were here, this party would be much more lit, but they're not here, so it's going to dampen my spirit because I'm living in the past. So sometimes try as much as possible to live in the moment, and try as much as possible to have fun. Happiness or having a good time is sometimes it's not exactly about money.
No, it's not, because there's times in my life I've had very little money but found ways to enjoy life.
So like now we're in Entebbe here. Entebbe has a lot of spots where you can just enter free, and there's very many trees and there's water, and you can just have those nature walks within that space. Well, sometimes we pay minimal fee and have a good time in a good space, but people stay in their houses. They just not ingenious, or they're not trying to find ways of actually enjoying their life because they feel it's for a particular group of people who are up there, who are well-to-do. But sometimes you can actually have fun more cheaply. I go and play football. I play football with my patients, and we go and every evening I play football for free with my patients, and we enjoy it. We can play for like 2 hours, and maybe that's even why I'm keeping a little bit fitter than I should be.
And for our American audience, of course, when he says football, he's referring to what we call soccer.
Exactly. Anyway, so when life is here, live it.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be monetary, as we're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have to have a lot of money to enjoy life.
There's something about people who have, when people lose their loved ones, what usually makes the grief harder is that we didn't have enough good moments.
Yes.
Like I had them, but it was always business. Oh, I'm at work. Oh, okay, the children. Oh, okay. We didn't have the time, and that's why we grieve much more. Like, hey, I wish we had time to actually go.
Right. Nobody ever says on their deathbed, gee, I wish I would have spent more time at work.
No.
Nobody ever says that.
Exactly. So, no, we need to have some good moments with our loved ones, because you never know, anything can happen. Something about death. You could get sick and you're terminally sick. You could get, anything can happen, basically. So while you have it, enjoy it.
Yeah. And be appreciative. Because the thing is, there may come a day when you will find yourself experiencing some health issues or situations that cause you a great deal of pain, and you will learn to appreciate the hard way what you have. You know? So appreciate it now, and don't take it for granted. You know. But yeah.
So if you know the patients that I work with, you find this lady, she's now 40 years old. She spent all her youth being a career woman, trying to study and get the PhDs and get the promotions at work. Now she's 40 and she's living like a 16-year-old. And now she's awkward. People are now making her life difficult. Her mom is always stressing her, her dad is always stressing her. Why are you acting so childish? And now they end up they're trying out drugs, they're trying out things. They're now trying to live the life that they didn't live when they had it. So you're only going to be 23 once, you're only going to be 30
she's doing it in a way that's not constructive, it's destructive.
Exactly.
Yes.
So when you're young, try to be young. When you're in your youth, enjoy
in
that.
constructive ways, not destructive. We're not encouraging any destructive, reckless living.
But live your life. So as a young man, you can go for marathons, you can go play a sport, because you can't play sports when you're 80. You can't.
No, but I mean, some things
there's some
people
sports
can do,
you do when you're 80, but
you can't be competitive.
Not this competitive ones where you have to run and it's like rugby or soccer or football or whatever. So if you feel you like that, have a good time with that right now. Yeah. If you like swimming, you go swim. If you like, because you have that chance.
Yeah, and that's the thing I really loved about when I was younger, when I was a runner. I was a runner up until about 2019, and I was competitive. I would, end up in top. I never won a 5K. I think that my best was third place. I have had several top 10 finishes in 5Ks and 10Ks. I would also do marathons and triathlons, but I wasn't so competitive in these longer events. But I really loved doing that. But now that I'm older, it's much more difficult. I'm not as competitive. I can still run. I still have an athletic component. I'm still be pretty athletic. But I'm realizing now that I'm glad I did all that stuff when I could, because if I said, well, I'll do it later, maybe I won't do it this year, I'll do it next year, I'll put it off, I would have missed out on such a great experience of years and years of doing the thrill of running and the crowds cheering.
If there is that thing that you like doing that makes you feel good, do it.
Yeah.
As long as it's not causing problems to you or to other people, have a good time. If you want to go on that boat cruise, you go for that boat if you can afford it. We don't want to see you on a boat cruise.
Don't be irresponsible and put it on your credit card and end up having it.
Anyway, so
if you're an American, don't do that.
Yeah.
Credit cards get people in trouble. Be responsible.
Okay.
We encourage responsibility on Free to Speak.
Exactly.
So, and also for those paying attention, as this video has been progressing, you've noticed it's been getting darker because we're kind of heading into sunset here, and we've kind of got.
Are we heading in sunset?
Or we're past sunset. Actually, you're right. We passed sunset. We're heading into night here. We started out, everything was bright, the sun was out, and now the sun is set, and we're slowly going into nighttime here.
All right, so you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, so I think this has been a good discussion, Paul, about suffering, and I hope this video maybe helps somebody out there. When you hear a little bit about what I've been through, maybe there are people that have had similar stories, and maybe some of the insights that Paul has had might help you in dealing with some of those struggles. And it's been a little bit more personal, I think, with myself and sharing some of my own struggles, but hopefully it's been helpful to people.
I believe one thing I've learned over time is that whatever awkward thing you feel, whatever thing is in your mind, you're not the only one who feels that.
Yes, true.
Now,
you're not alone.
Yeah, the moment you throw it out there, even if there are people who have fetishes, like I like just looking at feet, and then I just found there's a website where people post feet and they are paid a lot of money. I'm like, now what is this?
Oh my gosh, yes, I know, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
So,
it's just feet.
So whatever is in your mind, you're not alone.
Yeah, so you're not alone. There's somebody else that's...
So in other words, whatever you're speaking, whatever we're speaking, someone will resonate. Someone will
somebody has been through the same thing. Because when you're in suffering, like some of the things I've talked about, when you're in this situation, you feel alone because the doctors can't help you. The people around you, they want to help you. They're trying to understand, but they can't solve your problem. And sometimes, you even spiritually cry out to God, God, where are you? During this time, I've never lost my faith in God. But I've had the same questions like, God, where are you? And you start to doubt, you start to question, and it affects you spiritually, and so it affects every part of your life. And you feel alone sometimes.
Maybe what add to that?
And you're not alone. I want to say this, you're not alone. You're not alone.
To add to that is that if you are suffering right now, embrace the support. I know you might think that you're burdened. I know they might irritate you. I know you may feel they don't understand exactly what you're going through. And obviously they don't understand what you're going through because they're not experiencing it.
They can't understand.
So they're
trying.
They're trying. So welcome the support. Yeah. And for those who are not suffering now, when that time comes, because inevitably it comes, when it comes,
there's three kinds of people.
Embrace it.
There's three kinds of people. People who have suffered, people who are suffering, and people who will suffer.
Yeah.
Three kinds of people in the world. You're in one of those three categories, or maybe you're in more than one. But everybody's in at least one.
So when that time comes and there's some level of suffering, do not fall to the trick that suffering brings it with it of isolating yourself or pushing people away. It doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help you, it doesn't help anyone. Rather embrace the support, however annoying it is. Embrace it because people are trying to help.
Yeah. And if you have faith, like I talked about, don't give up. I've seen, I don't have all the answers about why God allows suffering, but I've seen, in the end, God is with me through the suffering. There's churches that have supported me through my suffering and have helped me through, gotten me help sometimes, and it was beyond what doctors could do. And don't be afraid to embrace spiritual support and churches and so forth. That's been very helpful to me. That's all been a part of it. It's okay to ask questions. It's okay to doubt. It's okay to ask God, where are you? For me, that's, maybe my insights.
Yeah.
How I'll wrap this up. So I guess good discussion, Paul, and we'll be back next week for another topic.
And if you feel like there's something you want to talk about, you can always tell us.
Yeah.
Wow.
Ciao. Bye. Bye for now.
Can anybody tell me what's going on?